This past year, I rode 13 new for 2021 roller coasters in both the United States and Europe. I also experienced some high profile non coaster additions at several Disney, Cedar Fair, and Six Flags parks. For that reason, I wanted to count down the top 20 best new for 2021 rides and attractions that I personally experienced this year. I unfortunately was not able to experience Conda due to the flooding at Walibi, Belgium, nor did I experience Silverwood Stunt Pilot, Groenland's Monster, or Movie Park Studios at Movie Park Germany. My travels also did not take me to Australia or Asia, which is why those rides will be excluded from this list. Now before delving into the list, I wanted to note a few rides that I will and will not be including. I will not be including any Halloween haunts because these are temporary attractions. However, I do want to give special recognition to the mind-bending and twisted Mesmer at Knott's Scary Farm. I will be including 3 renovations though that significantly modified rides, and I'll note when those occur. Number 20. Friedelin's Verrückter Zauber Express at Phantasiana. This art engineering family launch coaster is a fun little ride. It's very well themed for a coaster of this scale, with a theatrical launch sequence complete with lights, projection mapping, and sounds. And there are a few near misses on the ride's main course. The ride may not be thrilling or forceful, but it's not meant to be. It's a step up from your average junior coaster, and it offers a pleasant ride experience that I talk about more in a separate review. Number 19. Light Explorers at Energylandia. This Polish park's second Vekoma family boomerang is one of 2 coasters in the newly opened Aqualantis section. This attraction has a graceful and glass-smooth layout positioned above the water. The initial plunge is tummy tickling, and then there are a series of S-hills you traverse both forwards and backwards. Don't expect any airtime nor laterals. This ride is all about the visuals. Number 18. Snow White's Enchanted Wish at Disneyland. This was a 2021 renovation to one of Disneyland's opening day attractions. This Fantasyland dark ride received a new name, new effects, and a new story. The ride's visuals are less scary now, but they're more impressive now with the use of projection mapping. The story is also clearer and no longer features an ambiguous ending. The ride may still be short, but it's the perfect example how Disneyland has been plussing their classic dark rides with new effects over the years. Number 17. Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure at Disney California Adventure. This interactive shooting dark ride lets riders feel like they're Spider-Man. The ride vehicles don't feature guns. Rather, the vehicles have motion capture technology, so riders can make hand gestures to fire webs. And this technology worked flawlessly, and it's much more forgiving than Legoland's similar Ninjago rides. The ride did have 3 flaws though that held it back. 1. It was short. 2. It was chaotic with everyone firing their webs simultaneously. 3. I think it was a missed opportunity to use generic spider bots rather than Spider-Man's famous collection of villains. Despite these issues, it's still a fun ride, and it does feature the best live-action version of Spider-Man in Tom Holland. Number 16. Snake River Expedition at Cedar Point. This boat ride is a delightful contrast to the park's massive roller coasters. This is a themed expedition sailing the waters once occupied by the paddle wheel excursion. The ride reminds me of Disney's Jungle Cruise between the setting and dry humor of the guide. There are a few themed sets, plus live actors, and the ride culminates in an exciting hold-up sequence. Number 15. Tsunami Surge at Hurricane Harbor, Chicago, which is right next door to Six Flags Great America. The world's tallest water coaster certainly looks imposing. Standing 86 feet or 26 meters tall, this Whitewater West Master Blaster slide wasn't quite as thrilling as expected. This one has severe lack of speed on the water-propelled uphill segments and on the turns. In fact, I almost stalled out on several of those turns. There are a few drops with faint pops of airtime, including a large and exciting triple-down finale into a splashdown pool. This is a long and decent water coaster that I talk about more in a separate review. Number 14. Knott's Berry Tales Return to the Fair at Knott's Berry Farm. This Triotech Shooting Dark Ride is a complete retheme of the old Voyage to the Iron Reef. This 3D shooter takes guests through cartoony environments as they fend off wild critters trying to steal boysenberry pies. It's a goofy premise, but it works. There are plenty of targets to shoot, and I love the pull string jelly blasters that remind me of the shooters on Toy Story Mania. This one does have a bit of a learning curve though, because the projectiles fly much slower than usual, so you sort of have to predict where the target will be when you fire. Number 13, the Copperhead Mountain Coaster at Shepherd's Adventure Park. The third and newest alpine coaster in Branson, Missouri, is probably the weakest one in the town. The layout had no airtime and lots of auto braking, but it did have two positives. One, the setting. The layout is heavily wooded, but there are a few spots on the ride where it opens up, so you get these stunning views of the distant Ozark Mountains. 2, the ride has some decent laterals throughout the layout, which is a trademark for this type of ride. Number 12, Phoenix at Dino's Wonder Wheel Park. This custom Vekoma suspended coaster occupies a super small footprint, but it still delivers a fun ride. The open trains combined with the glass smooth track work is a wonderful combination. The overbank and helix in the middle of the ride are much more intense than you may expect for a family coaster, as they pull some good positive Gs. Then the final turns are the tightest on the ride, so they're quite forceful as well. Number 11, Dragon at Legoland New York. The largest roller coaster at the recently opened Legoland Park is the Seer Creation. The ride starts with a cute dark ride segment before transitioning to a deceptively forceful outdoor section. There are some helixes and turns that pile on some good positive Gs for a family coaster. This coaster's layout is far superior to the Dragon coasters found at the other American Legoland parks, and I go into more detail in a separate review. Number 10, Harley Quinn Spinsanity at Six Flags America. This Zamperla Giant Discovery is now the best flat ride at Six Flags America. Between the immense speed, towering heights, and sustained floater airtime, this ride is an absolute joy. And it also features a very long and satisfying ride cycle too. Number 9, Adirondack Outlaw at The Great Escape. This Funtime Vomitron has an excellent position atop a hill, so you'll get these stunning views of the Adirondack Mountains. Now this version isn't as forceful as the other booster style rides out there, but this one compensates with a long cycle, plus it still has some decent positive Gs combined with those thrilling flips high above the ground. It will be interesting if Six Flags brings this ride to their other parks. It's a great ride, but the capacity is woeful, which I talk about in a separate review. Number 8, Ninjago the Ride at Legoland New York. This interactive shooting dark ride is similar to the aforementioned Spider-Man. You use hand gestures to fire projectiles at 3D targets on screens. While there is a bit of a learning curve to this ride, it's much easier to tell what you're shooting at compared to Spider-Man, which makes it far more enjoyable. This ride is one heck of an arm workout, but it's just pure fun and it makes you feel like a superhero. Number 7, the Lego Factory Adventure at Legoland New York. This trackless dark ride was the best attraction at the newest Legoland. The ride has a super well themed queue line loaded with the history of Legos and some impressive models. And then you reach the main experience. The ride tells the story how Lego bricks are made and then ultimately used. The first room is my favorite as you explore every crevice and come face to face with a giant dragon. This is the room that relies on physical sets the most. The rest of the ride is more screen reliant, but the motion of the vehicles combined with the trackless technology complements those visuals perfectly. Number 6, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot. This is a clone of the 3D trackless dark ride that has been running at the Paris resort over the past decade, and it is a perfect fit for Epcot's France Pavilion. The giant screens are overwhelming in the best way possible. The animation is crisp, and the experience is chaotic as you avoid the perils facing a rat. Plus, you have some well-timed 3D effects that will have riders jumping. Add in some physical sets that serve as nice transitions between the screens, and you have a winner. Number 5, Abyssus at Energylandia. This multi-launch Vekoma coaster is the anchor of the aforementioned Aqualantis area. While the theming was incomplete for 2021, I could still appreciate this coaster's good layout. The first half is the warm-up with a moderately punchy launch, some mild positive Gs, and some airtime pops. Now the second half is the highlight though. While the main launch is as forceless as a Mach launch, the other elements are great. The top hat, even with the trim brake, offers very strong ejector airtime in the back, but the strongest airtime occurs on the camelback that dives below the station. That hill offers some intense ejector airtime. The rest of the layout has 4 inversions. They weren't as snappy as some of the other new Vekomas out there, but they still had decent positive Gs plus some mild whip. Then there are also a few other airtime hills in that twisted finale. Between the nice layout and glass smooth ride, Abyssus is a very strong coaster for the reasons I talk about in a separate review. Number 4, Jersey Devil Coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. Blasted by many enthusiasts as the worst RMC, Jersey Devil is actually a great ride. The world's tallest, fastest, and longest single rail coaster may be a little underwhelming if you ride in the front and middle seats, but the back rows are excellent. You get some crazy airtime on the first drop in those back rows. It's one of the best drops on any coaster. The first half then has 3 excellent inversions, combining laterals with either airtime or sustained hang time. Then you also have some great airtime moments as well. The second half, now that the mid-course brake run no longer bites, gives decent airtime on the return run, combined with these amazing head choppers. Jersey Devil is probably the second best ride at Great Adventure, and I go into more detail in a separate review. Number 3, Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure. This intimate multi-launch coaster is an incredible experience. It starts with the theming. Velocicoaster tells a story. You have an elaborately themed queue line that leads into a super compact first half through the Raptor paddock, with some scary near misses with all the rockwork and dinosaurs. This first half may be the warm-up, but it still has a solid launch, 2 wild inversions combining airtime and laterals, and then a mix of other airtime hills and some more laterals. The second half forgoes the theming for intensity. After a decent second launch, you fly over a top hat loaded with ejector airtime, and then you zip over the water. Everyone talks about the insane barrel roll at the end. The Mosasaurus roll absolutely has crazy hang time, laterals, and whip all in one. But I also love that stall. It suspends you upside down for a long time while also shaking you side to side. Add in some more strong pops of airtime and a super smooth ride experience, and it's not hard to see why this coaster is unanimously loved. I go into more detail in a separate review, but this is the best all-new coaster to open in America in 2021. Number 2, Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland. The best completely new coaster I rode in 2021 was the second Mach Extreme spinning coaster. I absolutely love Time Traveler, but Ride to Happiness takes the concept to an all-new level. This one has a far wilder layout, plus superior spinning. All 5 inversions are spectacular. The JoJo roll out of the station and the flying snake dive offer some of the best hang time on any coaster. Then the banana roll, vertical loop, and 0G roll occur back to back to back, and they're super disorienting with the spinning. Add in some powerful ejector airtime moments, particularly in that weird broken up top hat, and the double up finale, and you have one of the craziest coaster experiences in the world. I hit the brake run speechless after each ride, and I talk about it more in a separate review. And coming in number 1 is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Now I know this one is debatable, but I am including it because over half of Lightning Rod's track was replaced between the 2020 and 2021 off-season, and it changed the classification of this coaster from wood to steel. The front row rides were as amazing as always, but I did find the back car needed a little more time to warm up than in past years. That being said, this coaster is perfection when it's operating. The uphill launch has some underrated kick to it, then the rest of the layout has no wasted track. Each airtime moment seems to get crazier. You have a strong initial drop, some excellent sideways airtime, and then a series of smaller hills that lead into the famous quad down. Those are 4 of the most powerful airtime pops in the world. Along with all that airtime, you also have blistering speed and one of the best settings of any coaster. While Dollywood did chop down a lot of trees, you still feel very isolated in that valley, and it still works for me. Going into 2021, Lightning Rod was my favorite coaster, and it remains that way even after the extensive retracking. That is how I rank the top 20 new for 2021 rides and renovations that I experienced this year. What do you think the best new for 2021 ride is? Let me know down in the comments. Likewise, let me know your thoughts on any ride I mentioned or failed to mention down below. If you enjoyed this countdown, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canobie Coaster. Thanks for watching.